Welcome to the Crucible! This is episode 2. I'm your host, Tiny Grimes. As always, I'm joined by my beloved co-host, the Rebel Spy. What's happening, Mike? How you doing?
What's up, man? I'm awesome.
You need a new name, like the Master Forger. Alright, well...
To be fair, I used the Rebel Spy handle before Star Wars Destiny, so...
Ooh, I didn't know that. Very
I'm just a big Star Wars fan.
Okay, that's fair. This is our second episode in 1 week. Now, I gotta say, don't get used to that. This is more a product of us both having some matching free time right now, more than a prediction for the future, but who knows? We'll see. We're hoping for once a week. Mike, so how many games have you played since we last recorded?
Ooh, probably like 4, I would say.
Nice. I think I played maybe 10 or so. Actually, that's probably not true. I probably played like 20.
Probably played a lot more than that.
But the bottom line is, we continue to play, and so I'm going to ask you this next question. Where is your excitement level? Is it higher, the same, or have you kind of said, like, okay, the new factor is wearing off a bit, I'm waning just a little bit, and that's okay? Where are you at?
No, the excitement is like way up here for me. Man, I'm still so pumped about the game. I just want to play.
Yeah.
But with a caveat, I want to play with my deck.
Ooh, I know. It's so tough. We're playing on TTS. That's where all our games have been. And you're right. We are mastering someone else's deck, which is really frustrating. Yeah, so myself, like I said, I've played quite a few games since we last talked, and like you, my excitement is like a steep incline. Like, it's going up, up, and up. I've just been having a lot of fun. That's why I want to make more videos about it, because I'm having so much fun with it. So I think where we should start is what's possibly the most fun announcement I've seen in a long time. Online play? From an FFG game? All right, Mike, what's the announcement?
I don't know if you could call it an announcement, but in an interview with Richard Garfield, who designed the game, he mentioned that online play was coming, or, you know, I think that's what he said. I think a lot of people think that's what he said. Seemed pretty clear, but it obviously has not been officially announced by FFG yet, so there's a caveat. They could obviously do whatever they want and not end up doing that. But it seems like a no-brainer, and it seems awesome because every deck already has that QR code on it. So you just scan your own deck in, and you could play your deck that only you have online against other people, as well as in person. And you're playing the same deck both online and offline. Yeah,
that's really exciting, right?
Yeah.
And before, like, if you had told me this a year ago, I would have said, no, Mike, no, Garfield is wrong. He's like hoping, but they've got the Lord of the Rings robust app coming out. There's a pretty robust X-Wing app coming out. There's like an Imperial Assault one coming out. So FFG is definitely entering this universe, and this may be their way to be like, we're all in this universe of online play, and that is really exciting. You want to hear something really interesting, Mike? I came up with the craziest idea. What if you have a deck, right, and you've played it in person? It's your in-person deck. Can you sell someone the online version of it? Right? Because you can still bring it to an event. You have it. You possess the deck. They don't need to possess the deck online. So is it a way to be like,
you
listen,
can just like sell the QR code,
right,
I guess?
I have proven I've won 6 tournaments with this deck. I will sell you the online version of it that only you have. Oh, that's really interesting to me.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta say, I definitely did not cross my mind, but yeah, like potentially, that's really interesting. I think in terms of like an online game and this being like a game that kind of bridges the gap between online and physical play, like this is the perfect like platform for it, where like you are still incentivized to buy physical products because that is how you get decks to play online. And like the online aspect of it doesn't take away from the physical aspect of it. So it's like, it is honestly like the perfect scenario for an online / physical game.
I agree.
Which is...
I agree.
It just seems like such a no-brainer.
I couldn't be more excited for that. That would be so cool. And the game seems like the mechanics are straightforward enough that it wouldn't be that hard to do online. You know, something like Magic with the deep stack and everything and all the passing back and forth is a real pain to do. But there's no interrupts. It's just you play your turn. It's kind of like Hearthstone, right? You play your turn, click end turn, boom, it's the other person's turn. It just feels like a really well-designed game to play, even on something as small as like an iPhone or something. So I think it's designed really well for that. And I wonder if when they were designing it, they were specifically thinking that. Let's keep these mechanics doable in an online mobile environment.
Yeah, I could totally see that, because it just seems like the way to get it out to that big of an audience and to bring even more people. Like the people that play like the online digital card games don't always necessarily play physical games as well.
Yeah.
And this is like an amazing way to bring it, you know, to get those people to buy into the physical hobby as well.
It'd be so crazy. You're like, you only play online, and you're like, hold on, I need to buy some packs on Amazon, get them one-day shipped so that tomorrow I can open packs from my online account.
Yeah.
What a crazy world we're living in, Mike.
For real.
Oh, man. Yeah, okay, so I'm very excited about that. And I know this is going to sound crazy, Mike, but I keep getting more and more excited about these ways for people to make money within the game. And I know that sounds weird, but I feel like it's one of the things that props up something like Magic, is that there are ways to be more professional within the game or be a merchandise seller, and there's like all these things that help prop up the game itself. So these ideas of like buying it in person, selling it online, selling a proven winner, doing that in person as well, just selling a physically proven winning deck, it gives those people who are propping up the game with their energy a reward for doing so. I'm not saying this is going to be me, but I'm saying there will be people out there that do that, right? That go to every local tournament, win them all, and then sell their deck as that known quantity champion deck. You can look in an app and it says, "You're awesome, you have this deck."
Right. That seems like an inevitability. That's not necessarily something that I'm like looking forward to, but that just seems like it has to happen at some point. It's just going to happen.
All right, I got some more good news for you, Mike. I don't know if you heard this. So if you haven't been playing on the TTS mod yet, it's called Super Keyforge. Get Tabletop Simulator. You can play with all these decks. There are only 5 decks right now. Somebody has scanned in 2 more. They gave them to me, so I have 7.
Ooh, nice.
But Mike, apparently there are 32 that will be on there in a couple days.
That is very exciting.
Yeah.
That is a lot more.
Oh, yeah. The guy who's making it has streamlined this process. Like, he hasn't been updating the actual decks because he's been making a process to just import decks.
That's awesome.
We're getting our hands on more and more. And it looks like we have 32. And so if you're excited about this game, but you were thinking, there's only 5 decks in TTS, it's not worth it. Oh, it's worth it. There's 32 of them.
Yeah. That's a lot. That would be pretty sweet if there was some kind of like randomizer where you can just a game and just grab a random deck out of like the 32 for each player and then just go.
Yeah, that would be fun.
That'd be a pretty fun time.
It'd be also fun if you could ban 2 or 3 of them. Because it's quite possible there's going to be 2 or 3 that are really good. We'll see. Yeah, I have a feeling if all those 32 come in, I think I'm going to try to challenge someone next week to a one-on-one duel. And maybe even more than that, this is what I used to do with SoulForge, have 2 people do a one-on-one duel where they pick 5 decks, they each ban 1, and then the last man standing, the last person standing who has a deck left wins, and I'll commentate with you or someone else if you're not interested. But I think that could be really fun to have.
Yeah, that sounds like an awesome time.
Yeah, I can't remember. What did we call it? We had a SoulForge thing. Every week we did this. I can't even remember the name of the program. But it was very popular. It was so much fun because I could go crazy because I don't have to play. When all I have to do is comment. Oh, it's so much easier to comment and make fun of all the people's misplays and make fun of it in a nice way. These were all highly competitive, great players. I wasn't mocking new players, just to be clear. They were friends of mine. So it could be a lot of fun. I think that's coming. I have a feeling next week we're going to see that. Also, I've been live streaming on Twitch, Tiny Grimes. Mike, have you made any exclusively Keyforge content yet on your YouTube? Not yet.
No, I haven't.
Okay.
Yeah, I had a fairly big gig last night, and so my week was basically prepping for that. But this weekend I might have some free time, and I'll put some stuff together.
Looking forward to
it. I'm so pumped.
All right, I want to ask you my next question. We've got 5 decks on TTS.
Mm-hmm.
One of them, the Horseman deck, seems really good. One of them, Doomwind, seems really good as well. I have a theory that those decks are not going to even be good decks when it comes down to competitive tournament decks. What do you think? Am I wrong? Crazy?
Maybe. We've only seen 5, right? So the sample size is like so small that who knows? Like those could be literally the best decks. Those could be. I don't know if you can hear my cat right now, but he's going nuts.
This is my theory, Mike. Check this out. I feel like the most competitive players are going to buy a minimum of 10 decks, probably more like 15. So what you're going to get is the best out of 10 to 15 decks that each person opens. So I think what we're going to see is not that these decks aren't good decks, but that we're only going to see really, really good decks from highly competitive players. And I think it's going to be interesting when we look back at these TTS decks and go, oh, I thought that Doomwind deck was busted. That's like a sub 500 deck in an actual competitive universe. Because I know for me, I'm buying 10 packs immediately, and if I'm not happy with what I got, I don't know, I might buy 10 more.
Yeah, I mean, like that very well could be the case, right? The best deck could be 10 times better than that Doomwind deck. But we just don't know at this point.
I don't know. So interesting.
Yeah, I think part of so I have a couple of thoughts about that just in general, like buying, like 10 decks and just picking the best one and then only playing that. That's kind of seems against the spirit of the game in a way.
Completely.
Where it's just, like the point is to have something unique that's yours that you get good with, that you like get comfortable with and then get good at. So I don't know if we're going to come to a conclusion on like how to decide whether or not a deck is a good deck, like right off the bat. We're gonna, I know, talk about like certain cards in a bit that are, probably going to be in the best decks, but I don't know if this is just like competitiveness kind of ruining the spirit of things. I don't want to say ruining either, like that's kind of a harsh word, but I don't know. I have mixed feelings about the whole concept of that, I guess.
Yeah.
So I don't know if anybody else feels the same, but
I agree, and this is the problem with this game. If there's a problem, right, is that non-competitively, it's going to be so fun and so open and so interesting. But once the really competitive people come in, it's like, oh, so I opened 38 packs, and then I sold them used for $3, the ones I'm not keeping, and I'm only keeping this one, and I'm going to play it until it gets so many chains as a handicap that it's no longer playable, and then I'm going to open 38 more, I'm going to sell all those for a half price.
Right.
I think that's going to happen. I know for me, my theory is I'm going to open like 10 or 15, and then I'm going to hope to open these at a shop with some friends and then give people in the store who are not playing with us and just be like, hey, man, you want to try Keyforge? Here's a free deck. Not a loaner, free deck. Keep it. Right? Yeah. It's not one that looks interesting to me. You can just keep it. It's fine. And that's what's really cool, I think, about opening a lot is you can just give them away. If you're comfortable with that, some people would say $7-8. I don't have $7-8 to give away. That's totally fine. But if you do, I think it's a reasonable way to have somebody be all into the game, right? It's like, do I have to buy anything else? No, you're good. You're good. You're all into this game. You're welcome.
Exactly. Yeah. That I this week pre-ordered a Covenant like subscription like display or whatever. So I'm going to get 12 decks that I'll be able to give away to friends and stuff like that. So that's one of the reasons why I got that many.
Nice.
Probably end up giving most of them away and trying to get more people into the game.
That's cool.
So.
I pre-ordered 3 packs and a core. And my theory is I'm going to order like 3 packs from 4 different places just so I don't get screwed. Because I'm really terrified that FFG is going to do what they've done in the past, right? Which is kind of hedge their bets. They're kind of a smaller company. They can't be like, we bought 1 billion of them, and people are like, that game's bad. And you're like, what? Our company is over. Instead they kind of, make enough, and then if demand's really high, they make more, and I'm a little afraid they're going to run out because it seems like the demand for this game is incredibly high.
Yes, it does seem like that for sure. The upside is that a game like Star Wars Destiny, for instance, which was not printed enough in the beginning, you need quite a few more cards in general to be able to play at a competitive level.
Yep.
Potentially, you just need a deck.
Yeah.
Like
one deck.
So,
that's it, man. One deck. I opened the worst deck ever, and you know what? I don't care. I'm playing.
Like as long as you have a deck, you can still play. So hopefully that will alleviate things a bit. Because, another shortage would really be a bummer.
Yeah. Additionally, it seemed like FFG didn't have a great handle on the dice at first and like how many factories they needed to produce dice at what speed. Cards they've already got a handle on. This is not their first card game. So I'm predicting that there will be a shortage, but it'll be smaller shortage.
Yeah.
It won't be like nobody can get it. And you're just like, hey, I got 2 boxes of Awakenings. Would you like to buy them for $1 billion each? And people are like, maybe. If I had $1 billion, I would, but I don't. All right. Let's continue on this path then of talking about competitive play a bit. After my games, I've isolated a couple cards that I feel like when I open packs, and I think when other people do, there are some cards that are so strong that people are just going to want them in their decks, especially if they're at the common level or uncommon. I feel like it's not that hard to keep opening packs until you get decks with these cards in them. So shall we take turns and go?
Sure.
All right. If you've seen me stream, you know I'm in love with a card. I've wrecked Mike with it. I wrecked my buddy Jake with it the other night. I wrecked a guy today. Actually, 2 different people. It is Bait and Switch. It's a Shadows card. It says, steal an amber from your opponent until they no longer have more than you. And my goodness, have I used this to ridiculous effect, so much so that I cannot imagine playing Shadows without this card at this point.
Yeah, that card is just nuts. And my biggest problem with it, I wouldn't even say problem. What makes it so powerful? I think one of the reasons why I'm powerful is it's how do you play around it? Do you just not gain amber? Do you not work towards the 1 win condition in the game?
You're like, I could play these cards for amber. Instead, I'm going to discard them. I don't want amber. Thank you.
Yeah.
And then your opponent's like, I don't have that in my deck even. I know I have a Shadows deck, but I don't have that card.
Yeah. Well, it's like if you play it against your opponent and you gain 5 amber off it because they had 9 and you had 0.
Yeah.
Your opponent can play it against you. They can. And then they gain 1 amber. It's like that.
Yeah.
It's not even a counter to itself. I do think that it is a fairly skill testing card in terms of the timing of it. The best time to use it is when you have just forged a key.
Yes.
You don't have any left. Your opponent is about to. Yeah. And then you just swing the tables, in your favor. You're all of a sudden ahead on tempo and ahead for which is just devastating. So
yeah,
really interesting.
What's interesting though is if everyone has this approach of if it's a Shadows deck, it has to have this card. Then you can play around it. You can at least start to play around it. Whereas
that's true.
Otherwise, it's so hard to play around cards. Like you said, that's the win condition. Are you really not going to get amber in case they have it? If you know they have it and they're sort of telegraphing it, in my games, I've been telegraphing it so bad. I'll just be like, all right, there's a Dish Shadows deck, and the discard has an artifact that says keys cost 3 more. I'll have no discards in hand, and I'll just go, tap the key, go. And they're like, great, I have to keep getting amber because I need 9, and I know you have Bait and Switch. And you're just like, okay, what are you going to do? You can not play anything? Cool.
Yeah.
All right, so what card have you identified as a card that you think competitive players are going to say, this has to be in my deck?
So I think a card that's really good in the Dis house is I can't say Dis with a straight face.
No, it sounds weird. The Red House. Red House sounds
the Demon
cool.
House, yeah. Is the Dominator Bubble, or Bubble, or whatever it is, and it is an artifact with an action that's just use a friendly creature. So there's a lot of really good events and a lot of like brilliant creatures in Dis. And being able to call that house and then also use a creature of another house on that round is really, really sweet. So I remember you were playing against Jay from Double Blanks, I believe, and you had the bauble out, and you had an untamed creature. It was like some kind of witch.
Oh, yeah.
It was Witch of the Eye, and it was Reap, return a card from your discard pile to your hand.
Yeah.
So you had the bubble out, so you would call Dis, you'd play your discards, and then you would activate the Witch of the Eye, and then return a discard from your from your discard pile to your hand, and then be able to play it because it was in that house. So just the amount of synergies that card I think can enable is really exciting and really powerful, I think. So yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think competitive players will definitely want the bauble. I know I will. Let's see. My next card actually combos with Bait and Switch. It's another Shadows card. It's called Miasma. You play it, you get an Amber, and it says your opponent cannot forge a key during the key forging phase. So
seems super good.
Right, they get their 6. They're thinking next turn, I'm gonna do it. He has 5, I have 6. He cannot bait and switch me. You play this, you get your 6. And then you make it so they can't get a key. Are they not going to get any more Amber? Are they going to get more Amber? What are they going to do? They're basically stuck. My favorite thing, Mike, this is the meanest thing in the world, is you do back-to-back turns, and then you bait and switch them. Oh, that card is going to be in so many decks. So good.
That's great. I mean, I can imagine a situation where, like, you don't have any creatures on board for them to fight with, and they're like, okay, I guess I'm just going to reap with everything.
Yep.
And then they end up with like 14, and then you bait and switch and just wreck them.
That happened today.
Yeah.
I was playing against a guy. He basically had an all-creature deck. It's one of the new decks. There's only like 2 cards in the whole deck that can generate Amber outside of creatures.
Oh, wow.
And so that's what he would do. He would take his whole board and reap, and he got up. I played Miasma. He does it again. I Miasma again, and he gets like 14 or something, and I was like, bait and switch. It was really bad for him. He did not win that game.
That's crazy.
Oh, man. Yep, so Miasma basically helps make bait and switch go. All right, what do you got for us?
All right, so I have another Dis card. I have to put that pause in there now. And it's the Succubus, which is a common creature, has 3 power, and it just simply says during the draw card step, your opponent refills their hand to 1 less card, which seems real crazy. And it's just a very simple effect, but the amount to which that like actually your opponent is like can't be understated. Like drawing 1 less card feels so bad.
Oh yeah, so bad, because your whole goal is to have those god turns where you play like 4 of the same house. If you get 1 less card, it's so unlikely to be able to pull that off.
Yeah. It's really rough, and especially if you have multiples of those out on the board. Like if you lucked into a deck that has multiple succubuses,
you have 3 of those guys in your deck.
Crap.
Remember, Mike,
you just completely shut down your opponent.
These are unique decks. Is there a deck with like 6 of those? It's like my whole board is succubus. You draw no cards. Good game, sir.
There absolutely could be.
God. I didn't even think about how broken that would be. Oh, there's so many interesting possibilities knowing that you could have like 5 or 6 of any one busted card in your deck.
Yeah.
Whew. I didn't even think about that, Mike. All right.
Crazy.
My last card is Key Charge. It's an untamed card, and this might not surprise you, Mike, but I just said I think Miasma is going to be in competitive decks, which takes away your key forging phase. Key Charge says, lose an amber, and then you can forge a key for whatever cost you have to. So it's a way to get around these effects. It's a way to, if you can get more than 6, do it before your opponent can steal, because Shadow has tons of steal mechanics, and I think that's another thing. I'm not going to name a specific card, but I think Shadow decks are going to prioritize having a whole bunch of steal in it.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And stealing is such a powerful mechanic. Like, your opponent gets to do the work for you, which is amazing. So,
you got
super,
4, did
super
you?
powerful.
They're all mine. Thank you.
yeah, exactly. It's just crazy. And yeah, there are a few like key forging cards outside of like the official phase, and I think all of them have potential to be like really good. I think when like we first saw those cards, it was kind of a question of like, are these actually like worth it?
How would you play this?
They totally are. So yeah.
I think I'd like to go a step further and say, whatever competitive deck is at the top will have a card that allows them, and possibly several that allows them to forge keys out of turn.
Out of phase, yeah.
I think you just have to have that. You can't just sit there and go, please, 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 please don't wreck me. Like, I think competitive decks will have enough steam in them that they will wreck you every turn if you let them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like the effect of it is twofold. You increase your tempo, and you also play around the cards that screw you. So it just is a really, really powerful thing to do.
Yep. All right, Mike. Any other cards for you?
Yeah. So the last card is it's a kind of a weirder card. It's got a bit more of a floor, but it's one of my favorite cards that I've played with so far. It's my second favorite. Favorite Logos card. My first favorite is Wild Wormhole, which just lets you play the top card of your deck, which is like totally my style of card. It's just like, this could be amazing. It could be nothing.
Super good card too.
You never know. Yeah, no, it's fantastic. Like
you get an amber.
It's a great card. But I think one of the more powerful cards in Logos is the Library Access, which is an action that's for the remainder of the turn each time you play another card, draw a card. So you can just go off.
Oh my god!
You have a hand of 4 Logos cards. You're drawing at least 3, and then if any of those are Logos, you play those. If you have a couple like Quixo the Adventurer, you attack with those, and then you draw more cards and play more cards. So like the combo potential and just like the card draw potential and the card advantage within a single turn is really crazy and really, really awesome.
Yeah, I think you're totally right. I think Logos decks will want 2 of those, to be honest. I think that's I think that's what they're going to do, is fish for 2. Even if the rest of the Logos portion isn't great, I think that Logos will be the faction that allows you to thin your deck. And so I think what Logos is going to look for are the archiving cards and those cards, right? So they have a chance to draw a whole bunch of cards up, stick a whole bunch in the archive, draw up all the shadow cards, pull the shadow cards out of the archives, and just be like, boo, 9 cards in your face.
Yeah.
I think Logos is going to be one of the most popular factions for that reason. I think being able to thin your deck and build up an archives we're going to find that to be one of the most powerful tools in the game.
Yeah, so far that is my favorite house. Which I imagine your favorite is Shadows.
Yeah, let's talk about that next. What are our favorite houses so far? Which is what's so fun, because this could easily change. Let's do top 3 in order and why.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
Okay.
You want to start?
Sure. Mine's Shadow.
Okay.
Shadow does not have robust influential creatures. I'm okay with that. I play Shadow for the control element of Shadow. There's a ton of stealing. The deck that I was playing today, my opponent had 14 creatures. I had 0. I won 3 keys to like 2 amber. It didn't matter that he had all those creatures. I control. I don't need creatures. I play cards with amber. I control. I steal. I'm underhanded. I'm devious. That's how I am. All right, what's your first one?
So my first one is Logos. There's some, I don't know, like some dopamine hit that happens whenever I draw a card in a card game when I'm not supposed to.
Okay, nice.
And so it being like the card draw house and the like do cool combo-y things. Like the art, everything about that is super exciting to me. I love the sort of future robot, like cyborgy flavor as well. I think that it's really really cool. One thing that I want to bring up really quick that doesn't really have anything to necessarily do with this is it's kind of strange to me that there's no like unique rule in the game, like in terms of cards. So it's like I can have 4 Quixo the Adventurers out at the same time. I don't know how to justify that, like lore wise.
Yes, I've had the same problem. For me, it's Sir Francis. It's a dude. His name is Sir Francis. How do you have 2 copies of Sir Francis?
I think his name is Francus.
Whatever the heck his name is, he shouldn't be out there twice.
Yeah. 100. Yeah.
Yeah, it is really interesting to me as well. For me, second is Logos. For the reasons I already said, I use it to thin my deck. I use it to get ridiculous archives. I had a turn, Mike, where I had out... It's like a rare artifact that says archive this and 2 other cards. And I had 2 archive cards in my hand. And so I stuck 4 cards in the archives. And then next turn drew up, stuck them all back in my hand, and really unloaded like 9 cards. And it was just an amazing feeling. And what I love so much about archiving is that stuff like bait and switch, it's so hard to save cards in this game in your hand because then it's harder to go off with those mega turns that just win the game or get a huge momentum burst. And to be able to archive something like bait and switch that is so situational, just like, you know what? When I need it, it's right there. You know, I don't have to clogging out my hand. I feel like archives is the mechanic that the best players in the game are going to really, really take advantage of, and Logos is the faction that allows you to really get into that.
Yeah. The archives in general, like, it's a way to discard cards from your hand that are of a different house without having to have that be the house, and that in and of itself is super powerful.
Yeah, exactly. It allows you to both get rid of cards that you don't need right now and sculpt those future turns. Being able to do both of those with one thing it just feels ridiculous.
Pretty crazy. Yeah. All right, so my number 2 is Sanctum. I like sort of the big beefy creatures with a bunch of armor. The fact that the 4 horsemen exist in that faction makes it really exciting.
So dumb.
I like the utility of it, like the utility of the action cards in it, which are mostly revolved around like combat and like creatures and healing and dealing damage and like capturing. I think is really interesting. I wonder if there's going to be a way to like remove captured amber at some point, because that is it's a really interesting like mechanic that they could play with, and the capturing the armor and not stealing the armor is quite a bit worse. Thankfully, like a lot of the time, it's easier to capture armor or amber, or you're capturing more at a time. So it can, like, it's mostly used to slow your opponent down rather than, like improve your game plan. But I like sort of the knight spirit. They kind of remind me of like the angels from Diablo.
Okay.
So. Yeah.
They remind me of the angels from Nova Blitz.
Okay.
which I doubt you've played or heard of.
I have not.
It's a pretty cool game. Look it up.
Is that a card game?
It is a card game. It's an online card game.
Gotcha. I think I have heard of it.
So for me, the top 2 are head and shoulders above the rest for me. From what we've seen, there might be some cards that come around that make me think, wow, that I really wasn't thinking carefully enough about this. But for me, it's kind of a tie for 3rd place between Dis and Sanctum, really depending on the cards that I get. Like, if I don't have Shadow, and Dis is, to me, like, the 2nd best control house. Like, I can be, maybe the pack that I get is so good that I'll say, okay, I don't have Shadow, but Dis has enough control. And for Sanctum, what I like so much about it is most of the cards give you an amber just for playing them. So what I like about Sanctum is actually not the bodies. I want a Sanctum deck that only gives me a couple bodies. It gives me a lot of those cards, like the one that
Like
just
Virtuous works that does nothing but give you 3 amber.
exactly Virtuous works. A bunch of those artifacts that you get one just for putting it on the board and it kills a guy or does damage to a whole bunch of guys. Like all of Sanctum, or not all, but the decks I like for Sanctum will have almost all the cards will give me amber just for playing them. It's one of the things I found with this game is that when I play, I want to be able to win without creatures. If I have creatures and they stick, awesome. But what I really want is the option to just play cards from hand and build up amber that way. So every turn I know I'm getting 2 or 3 just from what's in my hand. And I feel like Sanctum does a pretty good job of letting you do that.
Yeah, makes sense. My number 3 is actually Mars. Yeah, we haven't necessarily seen a ton of...
Not a huge
like,
fan of Mars.
At least like of the 5 decks that are in there, it's not the most powerful.
Yeah.
But I really like sort of the flavor behind all of the like the abduction and the stun rays and the like all that kind of stuff. And I think that a Mars deck with a lot of Mars creatures in it could potentially be really, really strong. So there's like that key abduction card, which is like return each Mars creature to your hand, and then you can forge a key at +9, reduced by 1 for each card in your hand. So
Right.
it's like it gives you 1 right away just for playing it, and then if you have like 3 Mars creatures on the field, you are at like +2. Like you get, I don't know exactly the math because I'm terrible at math, but
We're not math majors here, people, but it's
No,
pretty
no.
dang good.
but it just seems like kind of a cool, exciting like play, and just the class in general seems to have some really, really interesting creatures. Especially, I saw online this creature, Zizix the Many. He's like an uncommon creature with 3 power, and every time you fight or reap, you can reveal a creature from your hand, and if you do, you archive that creature, and then he gets 3 power tokens.
Yeah. I did
Every
that
time
today.
you do it.
I
which
did that
is
today.
really sweet.
It was really awesome. It's in that same deck, that deck I was telling you about. It's Logos, Shadow, Mars, and it has just tons of archiving, and it really felt strong, and Zizix definitely helped with that. I also got a Zorg attack off. Stunned his whole dang board.
That's awesome.
It was awesome.
You have like big dumb dudes like Zorg, and there's a couple other like huge ones that are just kind of crazy. There's one called Grommet, which is 10 power.
Wow, I haven't even seen this guy.
It's a rare. It has 10 power, and it says you can't play creatures after an enemy creature destroyed fighting Grommet. Your opponent loses 1 amber.
Ooh, interesting.
So, really interesting. Like if that's the one creature in your deck.
Yeah.
That seems pretty sweet. So,
yeah, I'm just so excited about the different possibilities, man. Like, oh my goodness, I want to have like 100 decks. My wife's gonna be like, how come our bank account is empty? It's not because of the stack of decks I have. It's not at all because of that.
Do you know off the bat how many like possible combinations of houses there are?
No, someone did the math on it, but I don't remember. Okay. It's quite a few though.
Yeah, it seems like it would be a lot, because it's like, it's like 1, 2, 3, and then like 1, 2, 4, and then you keep going until all. And I think it's like probably at least like 30.
Yeah, I don't think we have time to wait for you to act it all out right now. I really just don't.
We don't, because that would probably take an hour.
Oh man, yeah. So. Yeah, those are our 3 favorite houses. Are there any houses you just don't like so far that you've seen?
No. I think they're all really interesting. I think that we've just scratched the surface of all of them. So I don't think I've really seen enough to like dislike anything. But I think they all offer something at least.
Yep.
So
the only one that I'm like, I'm not a fan of is Brobnar, and it's only because the decks we have had. They're just too straightforward with the Brobnar side, right? It's like drop big dumb guy, and then maybe you have an artifact that readies him and lets him fight. And so it feels so one-dimensional. But it's quite possible that there will be other Brobnar decks that we see that are not like that at all. So, like you said, it's way too early to write off a faction. You're like, I've seen 5 decks. These are the best. These are the worst. You get a Brobnar deck, just throw it away. A little bit early for that.
Just slightly.
Oh man. All right. Well, Mike, I think we had another successful show here. I am loving the game so much. Yeah, I don't even know what else to say as far as that.
Me too.
It's like oozing out of me.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, Mike, why don't you hype yourself, where you're at, what you're up to? Let us know what you got going on.
You can find me on Discord. My handle on there is Rebel Spy. If you are not totally sick of hearing my voice yet, I have started up another Keyforge podcast called The Wild Wormhole.
You are the
I know
worst. The worst.
With my buddy D House and Jay, who people may know from the Star Wars Destiny community. And yeah, you can hear me on the Smuggler's Den, which is a Star Wars Destiny podcast, as well as the Jedi Trials, which is a Star Wars Destiny podcast. So
anything
just
else?
all
Do you
the
have like a
podcasts.
Barbie Dreamhouse podcast or anything?
Oh, I do. It's called
Okay.
Plastic and Diamonds.
It's a good name for it, actually. I will say this. I think Mike and I might end up with a Switch podcast. I see that coming in our future.
Yeah, it very well may happen.
Yeah, I can see that. Also, just so you know, I've been talking to Jay and D House. We're planning to throw you off each of our shows and just do three-man
You're just gonna
hosts
have your
for
own show
different
together?
shows. Yeah, we both had enough of this nonsense.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Okay. So you can find me at YouTube Tiny Grimes. Like I said earlier, I've been streaming at Twitch Tiny Grimes. Generally do like around 10, 11 noon Pacific for an hour or two. I try not to do the all day thing. I used to, Mike, I don't know if you knew this. I used to stream like 6 hours a day, 5 days a week.
Wow.
It did
No
not
way.
go well. Like,
Wow.
by
That's
the
a
end,
lot.
I hated that game that I was streaming. I was just like,
Yeah.
it didn't work out.
It's a lot of work, man.
It
Like
really
the people that can
is.
do that, I have like a ton of respect for them because it's a lot.
I was playing a game that had a very low ceiling as far as success was concerned, and I was by far the biggest streamer, and I had 200 whole viewers, and it was just like, for the amount of hours I put into making this happen and how much it destroys me, this is not worth it. Like, it's really fun to stream here and there for a couple hours, but to stream like that is exhausting. So
Yeah,
if there is a streamer you follow that streams like that, know that they put in they put all of themselves into this, and just know that. All right. You can also find me on Tiny Grimes Games on Twitter, and I think. All right, Mike. Well, thanks again for doing this, and
Always.
until next time, have fun in the Crucible Archons and go to TTS and play me on the mod. It's awesome.
Bye, guys.